Howie Roseman does it again as Howie Roseman makes another really smart signing. This time, former Colt Isaiah Rodgers. Welcome to the Philadelphia Eagles cornerback room. This young man is a very good special teams player. He's a kick returner. He's a punt returner. He's taken snaps as a gunner before. He's normally a core component of the field goal and extra point block team. This is a really, really smart signing by Howie Roseman. He just continues to amaze me with the way that he scouts and keeps his ear to the ground and keeps up with the pulse of the NFL and the way that he's identifying these guys. I mean, we got to give him credit for what he's done on the undrafted free agent market over the last 2 years and just the smart veteran signings of guys like James Bradbury to the smart plays on like, hey, man, this guy's probably down for the 2023 year, but this was a very promising player. When he got his shot for 2 seasons in 21 and 22 to actually log meaningful snaps inside of games, he did quite well. He afforded himself very well inside of those games. Smart signing here by Howie Roseman, guys. All right, y'all, without further ado, we're going to jump into the film. I'm going to talk a little bit about the advanced analytics behind his play. I'm going to give you my feel from what I saw from the tape from this young man. All right, y'all, let's get it. What's up, Cerebral football fans? My name is Steven Hyder. This is Gate City Sports Channel. The first thing you've probably heard reported about this young man was his special teams play, the prowess and what he's going to bring to the special teams unit, which no doubt about it, man. This guy's a really good player in that regard. However, the other thing you've probably heard reported quite widely was his last year, he graded out as the 5th highest graded cornerback in all the NFL. I'm going to tell you, I don't think he was the 5th best cornerback. I think it's a bit of a stretch, but given the amount of snaps he had compared to how they graded him, that's where they graded him. Now, when I went in, I was digging through the advanced analytics. The one thing I did notice was there was a little bit of a disparity between what his grading was by PFF compared to what the NFL passer rating was that he gave up on the season. On the 2022 NFL season, there were only 5 other cornerbacks outside of Isaiah Rodgers who ranked in the top 50 but gave up a passer rating above 100. Those names were Trent McDuffie, Taron Johnson, Antonio Hamilton Jr., Avonte Maddox, and Marcus Peters. Some very solid names there. We know Avonte Maddox is a good player, but we can see right away there's a little complexity to this evaluation here. And the first thing I did is, and I like to do this with all prospects I'm trying to get a feel for, I wanted to see, per PFF, what was his lowest graded game? Where did he struggle? What was the parameters? What was happening in the games to cause him to struggle? The feedback I got back from PFF was to go take a look at the Minnesota Vikings game. So I did. And this is what I realized from the film. First off, what I noticed from the film was that they seemed to play him a little bit more towards the field side. And it wasn't like, oh, well, he's a left cornerback. I mean, there were times I was watching him where if the field side went over to the right side, they moved him over to the right side. I think a lot of that has to do with the inherent athleticism of this guy. Very athletically gifted guys. We're talking about a 4.28, 4.29 40. So what was reported by the Colts on their website about this young man, which means that the same season that, we had that 4.27 put up by Henry Ruggs, this young man put up like a 4.28. They like to use this guy on speed players, to be quite honest. The other thing I saw was good in space, fairly decent at identifying space and knowing how to take things away. The first play I'm going to show you is just a high-low concept from the offense. And this is just, as you're a corner, and all you guys have played corner, you know this before, this is a tough play because you're clearly going to be the player they're trying to place into conflict. You can't guard what's low and you can't guard what's high at the same time. So it's about the timing of when you do things here, right? And of course your supporting cast matters. The pass rush getting home, as this one does, matters, right? The linebacker kind of giving you that glimpse, just that split second of being in the window and the underneath route matters. And then Isaiah Rodgers' ability to kind of get a feel for the depth of what's behind him and what's in front of him, causing the quarterback just to hold the ball for just a split second too long, results in the sack. So right away, what I saw from him was a pretty instinctful play here. I mean, this was a decent play from a young cornerback. The other thing I noticed from this young man is he wasn't targeted as much on the 22 season as he was on that 21 season, to be quite honest. I mean, we're going from like 5.7 snaps per target in 21 to 10.4 or so targets per snap in 2022. So it did stand out to me that there's a few times to where he got beat a little bit, and I saw it on his film. I'll give you a pretty good example of this. This is just a situation, guys, where it looks like they're playing a quarters concept. You can see that the slot receiver is running more of a, kind of a vertical concept here. Generally speaking, it depends on the defense of what you're running here, but anything over a certain amount is going to draw the attention of that safety. So the way I learned the rules was anything over 7 or 8 yards was normally that line of demarcation there. Then the safety has to pick up that route going vertically. It does feel like to me as if Isaiah Rodgers expected safety help here, which he clearly didn't have because of the route that was going on from the inside receiver there. And as a result of that, separation gets created here, and there's a big play against him, and I can see why his rating was a little affected by this. But to be honest with you, I think this is a fairly common mistake that could happen in any given season. And then also, the more snaps you play, the less prone you'll be to these type of mistakes. But I'm showing you to you. I saw it on the film. It's clearly here. I'm not hiding it from you guys. I did see that there. All right, some of the other things I noticed about this young man in the film here. Tough around the line of scrimmage, man. He's not a big dude. He's like 5'9.5", 5'10", but they played him up on that line of scrimmage quite a bit in run support and just, I mean, he's not a physical player. I mean, this is not James Bradbury coming in to support the run, right? This is not Steven Nelson supporting the run. Those boundary-style corners that can play, you know, they can put a little thump on you, if you will, right? These are not natural nickels that are just strong-willed guys. Like even Avonte Maddox, who's similar in size, a little bit more weight behind Avonte Maddox compared to Isaiah Rodgers, but similar movement skills. Both of these guys have very, very similar movement skills from him. And we can see here that he does, I mean, he factors into the box for these guys. Like they use him a lot inside the run game as kind of a support, person. There were some times I thought his effort was a little lackadaisical. And I thought there was other times where you could see that, like, hey, man, for a 170-pound guy, like, I mean, he's hanging in the box pretty tough. I mean, he's not like a complete liability, which is what you're asking for from a 170-pound defensive back. Just like, hey, man, if the ball comes to you, don't chicken out, bro. Like, make a play here. You got to have to sacrifice it for the team, my guy. So, I mean, look, when I looked at him, I saw some things on the tape where I said, hey, like, this guy is talented. All right, guys, I want to get into my closing thoughts here about this signing. I'm curious what they're going to do with him. I'm generally not a fan of moving guys from the outside to the inside. However, given the nature of this man probably has an entire season to think about and learn the skill set to move from outside to inside, I could see some merit here to that. Honestly, you got an entire season to prepare yourself, and then you'll have an off season next year after you've already been in here. You understand the playbook, you understand the scheme, you understand what will be expected of you. Now you'll have that off season and the full off season at that to actually integrate to the system to see if it'll work for you. So I do wonder if maybe they're thinking about moving him inside, because there are some parts of his game that are eerily similar to me to Avonte Maddox. Like the movement skill between these two guys is really eerily similar. Like these are both high level athletes. Like you can definitely tell as soon as you turn the tape on both of these guys, Avonte Maddox, Isaiah Rodgers, that these are probably two of the better athletes on any given Sunday on the football field. There's just no doubt about that in my mind. So I do wonder if that might be the play here, or if they're just looking at like, look, we need more veteran guys on the outside. I'm curious to how all this is going to work out in the long run. All right, guys, I appreciate y'all's time and attention. I'll see y'all on the next video.